Hello, and welcome back to Ignite Success, where we interview inspiring leaders in the community, and today is no different. I'm your host, Whitney Mincey, joined by a very special guest, Miss Amy Gilbert, the founder and president of Korean Adoptees Together. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So for those that are not familiar with your organization, tell us about Korean Adoptees Together.
So my organization that I started last summer is to bring other people who are adopted from Korea together to just have a safe place to talk about their experiences, how they're feeling. We give recommendations for books, but mostly it's just a hangout, activities and events that we can just be together.
Right. It sounds like a community. Allows people to find
right.
their community that maybe they didn't know they had.
That's right.
Great, great. And so tell me about what led you to founding this organization and a little bit of your background.
So as you can see, I am Korean.
Yes.
I was adopted when I was 5 years old and grew up just like any other American Southern girl, involved in sports and volunteering at different places. And after I was married, my husband, for my 25th wedding anniversary, said, let's go to Korea for the Winter Olympics.
Wow.
And so we went, and it was my first time back to my birth country. And I said, well, since we're going to Korea, let's go by the orphanage. And when we arrived at that address, there was no orphanage. And it was just an office building. So our translator went inside, and she came back out, took us in, and said, this is the group that organized your adoption. It's Korea Social Services office. And so they made a copy of my passport, and they said that they would search for my birth parents. And I had not intended that.
Oh.
And so we went back, had our trip, saw the Olympics, and a couple weeks later, after we had gotten home, I received an email from Korea Social Services that said I had a brother who had searched for me in 1987, and he worked for the government, and so they would try to locate him. And they did. It took a few months, but they did. And he emailed me, and we started emailing back and forth. He sent me pictures, and I went back to Korea. He and my older sister came to Jacksonville, actually St. Augustine, where I was living at the time, and visited me for Thanksgiving of 2018. So this really just happened a few years ago. And I met my first Korean adoptees at a local restaurant. It was actually on my birthday, and I walked into the room and saw other people who looked like me and acted like me for the very first time.
Wow.
And that is what started me thinking there needs to be a group, a local group that can share our experiences together. So it took me a few years of doing that, but just last summer started the organization. I've also last summer started a Korean language school, and I now have 25 students, and we're about to have 4 levels of Korean.
Wow.
I have a native speaker teacher who teaches, and then I teach what I have dubbed true beginners.
Yes.
And it's been quite successful.
Oh my goodness, sounds like quite a journey.
Yes.
And then you're an author on top of that.
That's
so
right.
Tell us about becoming Korean.
So I wrote a book about being an American, being adopted, looking different from my family, and then meeting my birth family, and the journey that I've been on to become Korean.
Yeah.
that's what I've done.
Yeah, well, that's incredible, and I'm sure it was an eye-opening experience, even just writing the book as well.
It was. I'm not a writer. I was an elementary school teacher, but it was a process just to go over my feelings, and it really was a process. It took me 3 years, but it was a great experience. I encourage anyone who wants to share their thoughts and their life to do it.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for being here, Amy. Sure. I so appreciate you sharing about your book, but also about the great community that you're creating here. And unfortunately, we're out of time, but if you want to learn more about Amy and Korean Adoptees Together and the events that they have coming up later in the year, make sure you go to dailynewsnetwork.com. All of the information will be listed there. And we will see you next time on Ignite Success.